always aiming to be the most inclusive community we can be. We are on that journey of being inclusive. And so whatever your identity, wherever you are in life, whatever your faith journey, whether you're straight, gay, whatever your gender identity, you are welcome here as you are. We are delighted to be in this space. It is the second time we are here in this space, and so we're still getting used to what it means for us, but it's really exciting, and it's great that already we see new faces because we have a new place to be. The running order for today is on the website, which is inclusivegathering.org.uk. You won't be judged for having your phone out, that's absolutely fine if you find that helpful, but you don't need to. Everything that you need will be on the screen and you can follow along. We're not live streaming today, but we are filming, and you'll see Joel doing a great job on the camera. That's where he's at home. And he's filming for us, but also for a documentary about Pride. He will be filming things mostly from the front, but if he does want you in a part of the film, he will speak to you about that. But if you're really concerned about not being on video, just let somebody with one of these beautiful lanyards on know. There are some creativity stations around the room where there's colouring. As I've said, please feel free to use those and to get a drink whenever you want. And there's also a quiet room next door if you feel you need to be out of this space. We have some songs today, and I'm hoping they'll be familiar for you, so please join in and sing along with the lyrics. And so we're going to go to our first song in a moment, but before we do that, let's just have a moment of quiet so that you can still yourself and we can recognise that we are in the presence of each other, but also the presence of the divine. And so we start with the song which you all recognise, I'm sure. This is me, as we declare our identity in this space.
I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me. Another round of bullets put me down. I'm gonna send a flood, gonna drown a man. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come. And I'm marching back to the beat I drum. To the beat I step. To be seen, I make no apologies. This is me. Whenever the words wanna cut me down, I send a thought to drown out. This is me.
An abrupt ending there. Wasn't quite ready for it. We are getting to grips with this space, so if you're like me, you'd like a bit more bass in that, but we're still trying to work out how all the systems work. So you'll see as we get further into the being here, we'll know how to use more of the equipment, and hopefully we'll have lights flashing and all sorts. Yeah. Just dropping that in there. So Danielle asked me a question that we're going to talk about together, but I was reflecting on the question about what my favourite Pride memory is, and it got me thinking about Pride and all sorts. And so I was thinking about Pride for me over the years has been an immense amount of things. Actually, I'm just getting my notes, so I'm just trying not to waffle too much while I find it. But actually, I was thinking about at Pride. I met one of my closest friends who now lives in Australia, which is great for him, but a little sad for me. But he used to host a Friday night party before Friday, a dress-up party. And we've done all sorts. We've done burlesque. We did Cops and Robbers one year. And so I just started thinking about all the times I've spent in this area in my 20s and into my 30s. Can you believe it? Never. My favourite evening was when me and my friend, we were trying to get to Eden Bar just at time for Katrina and the Waves to come on, because I have this thing about Love Shine a Light. You may remember, well, you may not remember, Eurovision 97, and the school I was at decided to make a big thing of it, so it's always been in my heart. So we literally got in the door of Eden as she started performing Love Shine a Light. So, you know, it was like, whoa! I've been in this area, I've danced, I've cried, I've dated, I've eaten so many kebabs at Urban Kitchen I've lost count. I kissed a boy and I liked it. I've been dumped. I do remember being outside sidewalk, sobbing one night and trying to hide it. I've rolled home in the early hours from here, quite hungover the next day to get up and preach or play the organ. If you've ever played the organ after rolling in at 6 o'clock in the morning with a hangover, I do not advise it. It's hard. I've had a car run over my foot, right on Hurst Street. As I stood asking, it was the biggest door, but yeah, I was talking to a taxi and this woman decided to go on the back of my foot, to which I banged her car very loudly and shouted at her. And then she had the audacity to have a go at me. I celebrated my birthday around here. I've watched an ex throw a drink over someone in defence of his mother. I had my first tequila. I've laughed so hard at drag performances, my favourite being the one that does Dame Edna, because that's a spot for Dame Edna. I also met Gareth Gates on a night out, which was quite fun. And I realised as I was just going through all these memories of stuff that I've done and times I've spent here, how special it now is to be in this place. My favourite Pride march was the first one I ever marched in, when Christians at Pride marched. And I put on my t-shirt, I bought it way too big, so I had to sew it to make it fit me, but anyway, that's another story. And I had a real sense of pride because two parts of me in that moment had come together. There was this life that I had here down Hurst Street, and then there was this life in church which felt very separate for a long time. And in that moment, suddenly, they were meeting. And I then went to Pride after we'd marched and carried on wearing my t-shirt, because I thought I want to show people in this community that there is not a division, that being loved by God and being gay was a thing. Being Christian and gay is a thing. And so being here is another step in that journey, not just for me, but for all of us, about what it means to bring those two things together. The love of God in a community that sometimes doesn't feel it's loved by God. And then I was reflecting on all this, and you know when you have those moments, I like to call it when you notice the divine, and I looked upon my shelf and I saw my baptism candle. I don't know if anyone's ever had these. And this week, it is 20 years since I was baptised. And so for me, that 20-year journey, there is something really special in this moment. And then I looked at it even more, I thought, wow, 20 years, and here I am in the heart of the place I really feel God has put me. And then it says, shine as a light in the world. And that's what we're here to do. Shine as a light in the world. And that's what this means to me. So you are welcome to be here and be part of that light shining. So the question for you is, what does Pride mean for you? What are your memories of Pride? And you can take a few moments to share with one another, to get to know each other, to talk about the fun times, the not so fun times, the special times. And then if anyone feels moved to come and share from the front, that would be really good. So yeah, have a share with one another.
Got a hand on the door, never know where it might lead. No escape before, but now I'm thinking what it might be. When you're right by my side, I don't ever have to worry. Tell me, baby, where do we start? Think of what we might see. The city's got a million lights out, I can see your eyes ignite. Wow, tell me that you wanna go right now. Why we hesitating? The city has a million lights, and I never believed before now. Maybe tonight we'll find out. Don't wanna leave, can't get enough. The city's got a million lights, and I never believed before now. Maybe tonight we'll find out. Don't wanna leave, can't get enough. I know that love is love. I know that love is love. I know that love is love. And I never believed before now. Maybe tonight we'll find out. Don't wanna leave, can't get enough. I know that love is love. I know that love is love. Oh, if I really say so, maybe I'll be enough. Tell me, baby, where should we go? When you're right by my side, I don't wanna say come over. Tell me, baby, now that we're home, living days are over. The city's got a million lights out, I can see your eyes ignite. Wow, tell me that you wanna go right now. Why we hesitating? The city has a million lights, and I never believed before now. Maybe tonight we'll find out. Don't wanna leave, can't get enough. The city's got a million lights, and I never believed before now. Maybe tonight we'll find out. Don't wanna leave, can't get enough. I know that love is love. I know that love is love. I know that love is love. And I never believed before now. Maybe tonight we'll find out. Don't wanna leave, can't get enough. Oh, wake up. I don't really wanna wake up. I'm living a dream and I don't wanna let it go.
Okay there, let's draw our conversations in. If it was left down to me, I'd let you chat it for the rest of the time, because this is church, this is community, this is what it's about. Would anyone like to share anything, whether that be a word or a story? And I'm happy for you to come forward, or I will come to you if that works better for you. Just wave at me. I'll give you a few moments to feel awkward. Naomi, Grace, do you want to come?
So one of my favourite Pride memories is actually the year that my mum came, because my mum's adorable, and some of you will have met my mum. But you know, she originally when I came out, she didn't really know how to deal with that. She was as supportive as she could be at the time, but it was still a very kind of difficult situation. And so to think that, you know, less than almost like 2 years later, she'd be coming to the Pride March. She came with Christians at Pride. She stood at Cars Lane and gave out sweets to people, and gave people mum hugs and stuff like that. And I think, and it was just, you know, and also she's quite shy. She doesn't like crowds of people. It was, you know, just being there would have been quite taxing for her. So the fact that she came and threw herself in and obviously wanted to show her support in that way was really special, and I still remember that really well. And she, you know, she loved it. She loved like the colour and the flamboyance, and yeah, I think it was, yeah, just really stands out to me as a really special moment.
Great. Great goosebumps. Anybody else? Getting me exercising now, aren't we, John? Thanks, John.
I think for Eunice and I, we've never been to a Pride March before we came to Birmingham, and just being part of the walk with our Christians at Pride t-shirt. After we finished and dispersed, I was walking around Birmingham and came across one of the Christian preachers just near New Street with a crowd of university students from Leicester, and he was having a go at them about how simple it was to be gay, and I took him on.
When you say took him on, John,
well, I used some of those all those years of theological training as a Methodist minister, and presented an alternative view of the New Testament to him and to the students, who were profoundly glad to hear that there was Christians who thought differently.
Thanks, John. Super, thank you. And I know in my journey, I'm incredibly thankful for allies in the church who have journeyed and still do things like that, so that we don't have to do the fight on our own in challenging the theology. So thank you for you all, people that do to help. Any other stories, insights? No? Okay then. So let me look at my list. I'm inviting Julia Robinson now. Come on down, Julia! Give her a... You don't know what she's going to do or who she is. I mean, I could introduce you as one of those hate preachers, couldn't I? But I'm not. Then you get booze. No, Julia, you tell us who you are. I'm going to hand this to you. If you give us a bit of an introduction of the work you do, and then we'll ask any questions, I guess.
Go for it. It's probably the first time I've been given a mic. I don't normally need one, so thanks for that. My name's Julia Robinson. For my sins, I run Southside District. You're all in it now. It encompasses the gay village, Chinatown, and what we say is theatre land, which is basically everything from the Hippodrome up to New Street Station, taking in the Electric Cinema, the Old Rep, and then all the hotels there. So I look after everything you see on the outside is my problem. If you walked in and thought it was messy tonight, so did I. And if you ever dropped in a litter, it's generally me that picks it up. If you're generally waiting for your cab late at night and you're a bit scared, it's my staff who come and stand with you to make sure that you're not on your own. If, very unfortunately, you're a victim of crime, it's generally my staff will come with you, help you to report it to the police, go and check the CCTV afterwards, actually make sure something happens. So we are the sort of icing on the cake for what you'll find everywhere else. And how do you get it here? Was paid for by this place, by the Gale, by all of the businesses here. They put their hands in their pocket every year, pay me thousands of pounds so I can keep all of you guys safe and all of the districts as nice and clean as possible. So when you come down here, you see a Christmas tree, that's not the council, that's us as well. And when you see Christmas lights, and when you see flowers in the trees, when you see trees at all, that's not the council, that's us as well. So basically, if you see anything bad, that's the council. If anything good, that's us. But you didn't invite me here to talk about my favourite topic, which is everything on the outside of this building. What you invited me here to talk about Pride, and I am incredibly grateful, thankful and proud to be associated with Birmingham Pride now for the last 11 years. We've been a pivotal part in Pride's growth, and I'm here to perhaps dispel some myths, tell you a little bit about the background, and perhaps some frequently asked questions, which I bet you all have, about why Pride is the way it is, and some probably suggestions that you guys have got on how we can make it better in the future. We're always open to improvement. In fact, the room for improvement is always the biggest room in the house. So here we go. Pride. Around 11 years ago when I started, it was a completely free festival. It just incorporated this bit of Her Street and this little tiny bit of Brum Street. And it was an absolute free-for-all. So we used to cope with around 180 to 200 casualties a day. And the majority of those casualties, over 95% of them, were under 18. Because if you wanted to get drunk, shut your ears if there's only under 18 year olds, you can't do it now. But if you did want to get drunk, before Pride was a ticketed venue, you could come down here and there would be drinks everywhere. And no one would stand there and check your ID before you took it off the counter and walked away with it. So we used to have a lot of underage drinking and therefore casualties from those people. We were spending a tremendous amount on medical care, and also I was talking to a lot of parents. And I don't like doing that. Well, I don't like talking to parents, because obviously it's not very nice to say that their child's not very well. And part of the reason is because we had a really big party. So we took the very difficult decision to make Pride a paid-for ticketed event. And we did this primarily because Birmingham City Council wouldn't give us any more money. So prior to this, Birmingham Pride used to receive around 50 grand a year from the council, and also free help. So I don't know if you know, but if you close a road, you've got to pay for it. If I use a parking space, that's £80 a day. I have to pay for it. So you can imagine all the parking spaces down Her Street. Every time I close Her Street for a day, that's £80 every parking space. All this has to be paid for, and obviously Pride is a non-for-profit organisation, doesn't have any money in the coffers to do it, so ticketing was the only way to do it. And we followed the example of Brighton and Manchester Pride. Unfortunately, our council, I'm not going to go to council, it might sound like I am, but I'm not. Our council didn't follow the example of London, Brighton and Manchester Pride and support it. So Birmingham Pride receives zero money from anybody but its ticket holders and people like us who support it. So ticket costs, people do complain. We say it's absolutely essential. It's essential to pay the council their pound of flesh. It's essential to make sure every single person who comes to Pride has a safe and welcoming time. It's also essential for me that I'm not out there for 2 weeks picking up all the litter, because I would be if I didn't pay someone to come and pick it up. So it's really, really important that we do that, but also it's really important that we do our community stuff as well. So Pride has donated over £250,000 into community projects, and you yourself as a church, available here in the Gay Village, will be eligible to apply for projects to the Pride Fund if you wish to in the future to do any sort of projects that you want to do here. It's wonderful, and Daniel and I were here when you first talked about coming here. Wonderful to think we can have a church here. We love you to be here. This is what we call our Rainbow Island of Birmingham, a place where whoever you are, whatever you believe, whatever sex or sexuality, that you espouse. You're welcome here, you're safe here, and we would like to spread that island out all over the city. So welcome to the heart. Welcome to the heart of Birmingham. Let's push it out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful. And I know from Danielle and I's perspective, and the community's perspective, we're really we're really excited about these relationships and also what it means for us to be in this space and to serve this community. So if you've got money, we'll be on to you soon. No, but seriously. But seriously, that's part of why we're here. Is a part of what we feel called to do is to serve this community. So it's great.
Does anybody have any questions for me before? Because I do confess I've got a 4 o'clock, so I do have to go. So I'm going to stay for all of it. But please,
Yeah. Thank you. I was just wondering, what's the relationship between Pride and Stonewall?
So I think Stonewall is, I don't know Stonewall inbuilt. I think Stonewall as an organisation has been very supportive to Pride and Pride to it. I think in terms of all of these organisations, they have to be separate because everyone's got their own agenda. Stonewall's agenda is very different from Pride. There are a lot of similarities. There are a lot of synergies there, but Stonewall's mission is different to Pride's mission. Pride's mission is to provide that inclusive festival so that everybody, not just inside the festival, but outside, 75,000 people watch you march. It's really important. I mean, that's better than a TV commercial now. And you're getting that for free. So getting your message out, that is incredibly important. The parade costs us absolute fortune, but it's really, really important to us every year that we pour money into doing that. So the whole of the city, not just the people who come down to our bit, but the entire city can see how proud we are of our community here.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Matt. I actually live in the Southside. So
I'm sorry about the noise. I'm sorry.
All the noise you want. I saw that, again, it's more of a question about your Southside role. I saw that we've managed to pedestrianise part of it through the Jubilee sort of rainbow.
Do you like my rainbow?
I love it.
So it started with the crossings, getting bigger and bigger. Before you know it, it's coming down here, babe.
Exactly. But, we've been working with the LGBT councillors that we now have on the council. So I'm chair of LGBT Labour, and we're trying to get to a point.
I want them here. You know the cross we've got here, our pedestrian crosses, why can't they all be rainbow?
Well, exactly.
I'm lobbying hard. If you can get it, I'm trying to, John Cotton.
Let's have a chat. Because the thing that we've also been trying to work on is trying to get to a place where we can pedestrianise Her Street. So it'll be safe.
Well, let's connect because we're about to release our access strategy, which involves pedestrianising Her Street. But it's sort of like semi-pedestrianisation. So in the past, everyone's always said, oh, we really want Her Street pedestrianised, and we do. I mean, I don't know if you remember in the lockdown, I built parklets, I closed the roads, I did everything I could. And it's lovely when that happens, isn't it? Really nice. But at night, we had a lot of problems with security. The thing is I would love to bar vehicles here at night, but when I do, I force everybody to walk into areas where I haven't got the best CCTV, haven't got any security there to watch them get their cabs home.
Yeah.
I'm really keen on getting night buses, so I'm lobbying West Midlands Transport at the moment for a night bus here that goes all the way to Selly Oak and the hospital via the universities, because there's no public transport here after 11 o'clock at night. There's only 1,500 licensed black cabs in the whole of Birmingham. I have around 30,000 people here on a busy bank holiday weekend, and at Pride there can be 50,000 people. How do I get all of those people away safely? So it's really, really difficult. So what we'd like to do is have like gates that we can just drop. So for example, the Labour Party want to do a fringe event on Her Street one Friday night. I drop the gates, you fill the street, we have a party, there's tables and chairs, people are lolling around. But then when you guys want to go home at 10, and I need everyone else to go home at 12, I can lift the barriers, it becomes a road again. So that's the plan, but the idea is it won't look like a road.
Yeah.
So it'll all be one contiguous surface. So I want the cars to feel like they're in your space, rather than you're in the car space, which is always the way it's been when we've shut the road before.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Connections and, it's turned into a bit of a residence. No, great. We heard it here first. Don't forget that.
Huge thanks to Julia. And in case you didn't work it out from the talk, if you were here a few weeks ago, I was sharing about how I was in a meeting. It was Julia that started to talk about this community lighting up with rainbows visible from space. And that was a real inspiration. That was kind of what made it click in my brain, like, this is where we should be. And it was amazing how quickly it's fallen into place. And that's largely to Julia and the other friends. I just want to take a moment, and we're going to play another song, but I want to take a moment to pray for Pride. And largely the requests that I've gotten through from different people have been about safety for people. That's usually the first thing that organizers say. They really want people to have a good time, filled with joy, and to go home safe to their families. And just joy and celebration. And, this is protest and celebration together, which is a fantastic balance to get. So I'm just going to say a quick prayer, and I would love everybody to feel like they can contribute to giving blessing to Pride today in some way. There's some flags at the back of the room where you can write a word of blessing or draw a picture or stick some bling on it, and we're going to carry it with us through the parade. So whether you want to speak like words of justice or hope or joy or celebration, whatever it is, you can write it on the flags, or take a moment to pray as you're sticking bling on. So I'm just going to say a quick prayer. We're going to play a song, and then you can take an opportunity to stand up and do some coloring if you like before we move on to the next bit. God, I want to thank you for the example of joy and celebration that this space is, that the LGBT community show us what it looks like to have joy in the midst of sometimes struggle and sometimes in protest. We pray that we would be a blessing to this community as Inclusive Gathering Birmingham, and we pray for Pride in the next coming weeks. This would be a place of joy and a place of safety and a place of home for people that really need it. We pray that people will go home safe to their families at the end of a really joyous, beautiful time, knowing themselves a little bit better, building lifelong relationships, and having a sense that they are loved. They're deeply, truly, completely loved. Amen.
Hello, May. Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Naomi. I'm part of the team at Inclusive Gathering Birmingham. I'm going to talk about 2 or 3 saints and weirdos. We mean weirdos in the most loving possible way. We definitely need more weird in this world. So, the first person whose story I want to tell is a Pride pioneer. So someone whose story you may or may not be familiar with, but someone whose life lives on in the spirit of the LGBT community as it is today. So I want to tell you the story of Lawrence Michael Dillon, who was born in 1915 and lived until 1962. And first and foremost, he was a seeker after truth who travelled wherever his queries led him. That's a quote from Susan Stryker. And Dillon was one of the kind of primary trans men in LGBT history in the UK. He was a scientist and someone who was really interested in medicine, but he was also a Buddhist and lived out the kind of latter years of his life in learning the Buddhist tradition in India. Dillon grew up with his aunts and his brother Bobby, but as the years went by, he felt a growing unease at the different ways that he and his brother were treated. And this is a quote from his book, Out of the Ordinary. I was out for a walk with the 18-year-old nephew of the vicar, and somewhere there was a gate which he opened and stood aside to let me pass through first. Suddenly I was struck with an awful thought, for no one had done this for me before. He thinks I'm a woman. It was a horrible moment, and I felt stunned. I had never thought of myself as such, despite being technically a girl. Dillon went to Oxford to study theology, and he discovered there an enthusiasm for rowing, He joined the Women's Boat Club, as he was forced to, in his first term. And rowing, in his own words, was an escape from social functions populated by politely condescending young men. By his second year, he had been elected the club president, and he reformed the Women's Club into a serious competitive entity. He found a coach and secured uniforms for the crew, as well as successfully petitioning for conventional side-by-side races. He graduated in 1938. He bought a motorcycle that summer and impressed the men at the garage with how quickly he took to it, and then he moved to Bristol to study anatomy. He encountered difficulties there, but also managed to meet a sympathetic plastic surgeon, one of the pioneers in that field, who invited Dylan to take part in affirming surgeries. This changed Dylan's life, and eventually it enabled him to join a medical school and train as a doctor alongside other men. Dylan combined later in his life his personal experience with his medical training, and also he combined his personal experience and his medical training. And later on he wrote a book which was really one of the foundations of how we now deal with transgender affirming care, and particularly with hormones. And it's a study of himself, but also through his medical knowledge. In that he writes, "Surely where the mind cannot be made to fit the body should be made to fit approximately, at any rate to the mind, despite the prejudices of those who have not suffered these things, yet to suffer which they so readily condemn others." I've been organised and put this on a clipboard, but it means I can't actually flip it over. 1 second. Okay. This statement advocates for what we now call gender-affirming healthcare and for transgender people, and through his own experience and through his medical training, he then assisted other transgender people to access the medical care and support that they needed. Now, as I said, eventually he did catch the attention of the media in the UK, and that meant that he left the UK for India, where he remained as a Buddhist monk for the remainder of his life. Now, this is a story that I hadn't heard before. I had no idea who this person was, but as both a biomedical scientist and someone who is outside of kind of cisgender ideas, I was really taken aback by how much I don't know about queer histories in the UK and how little we hear of them. So I wanted to share a little bit of that with you, obviously. Not in my own words, I took a lot of that from articles online. But yeah, I was inspired by this story of this person who's not only their own life experience, but their contribution to the medical field has changed kind of hundreds, if not thousands, of lives of people, not just in the UK, but around the world. So, the second person, so people that I want to talk about, are the patron saints of lesbianism, apparently. Saints Perpetua and Felicity were brave North African women and friends who were executed for their Christian faith in the 3rd century. They're considered the patron saints of lesbians or the patron saints of same-sex couples, but Perpetua is sometimes seen as also a transgender saint because in her diary, which is how we know their story, she often talks about dreaming of being transformed into a man. Perpetua and Felicity were arrested for being Christian and they were imprisoned together. And the reason why their story has inspired so many queer women in particular is that they were killed in a not particularly great way, hence due to the Roman Empire. But in their last moments, they embraced each other and shared a kiss before they died. They're revered both inside and outside the church. They're named together in the Roman Catholic canon of Mass, and they're often included in lists of LGBTQ saints because they demonstrate the power of love between two women. Perpetua was a 22-year-old noblewoman and a mother. Felicity was actually her slave, so not great, but gave birth to a daughter while they were in prison. Although Perpetua was married, her husband is absent from her diary, and it's entirely possible or even probable that whatever the nature of their sex life, Perpetua's emotional involvement with Felicity was much more important to her than her relationship with her husband. And this relationship was certainly an intense and devoted one. As such, they're recognised as queer saints, and on hearing their names during the Mass, many people reflect on the place of same-sex unions over many centuries in church history. So there you go.
Adam, if you would come up. Well, we're going to share a blessing, and this was a blessing that was written for Pride last year in San Francisco, and it has a song refrain. I'm not going to tell you what it is before it comes up. I'm trusting that you all know it. I'll lead that bit, and then Adam and I are going to read the words that come up on the screen. I'm going to be nice as well. Blessed are your children, God. Blessed are your gay, lesbian, and bisexual children. Blessed are your trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming children. Blessed are your children who are all learning to name, describe, and know.
These are the words that I've got. Oh, is that
Oh, okay. Why don't we just read these then from here? Blessed are the holy and different. Blessed are the ones who are too loud, too bold, too wild, too much.
Blessed are your children, God. Blessed are those who have come out. Blessed are those who cannot. Blessed are those who are still finding their way.
Okay, I'm trusting you. You're going to sing this with me, okay? Ready? I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause God makes no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. Blessed are your children, God. Blessed are those.
Sorry, that's what you just said. I don't know what this is doing. I'm just going to keep that up, and you guys read what you want.
Okay. I don't know where we are. It's going well. Okay. Blessed are your children, God. Blessed are those who struggle with self-harm and self-hatred. Blessed are those who strive to accept the person they see in the mirror. Blessed are those who strain each day just to survive.
Blessed are your children, God. Blessed are those who persist. Blessed are those who persevere. Blessed are those who prove the world each day that diversity is divine.
I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause God makes no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. Blessed are your children, God. Blessed are the chosen families who have taken in the lost and forgotten. Blessed are the friends and family who have helped rewrite the stories of lives. Blessed are the allies who have loved those unable to love themselves.
Blessed are your children, God. Blessed are those whose ancestral queer footsteps we walk in. Blessed are those who marched and marched and marched before us. Blessed are those who have dared to dream and dared to demand justice.
I'm beautiful in my way, 'cause God makes no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby, I was born this way. Blessed are your children, God, every single one of them. And blessed are we as we tirelessly, courageously, imaginatively co-create with you a world where all people know and feel and have love. All sexualities, all genders, all gender expressions, all families, all bodies. Holy One, guide us towards your strange, boundless, undefinable love. And when we are met with the sneer, side eye, and shame of the world, remind us of who walks this journey with us.
You, the one who has shattered every norm, every box, every shackle that holds us down and calls us to do the same. Amen.
Hello, I'm Benji, and my pronouns are he, him. I've been asked to share a little bit about something I'm doing next week as part of Pride Parade. I moved to Birmingham in April and resolved, after kind of shielding as part of the COVID restrictions, once I moved, I was going to get out and do things that scared me. and I was just going to say yes when projects came my way, and that's seen me all over kind of the West Midlands, lots of walking, lots of going to places. I toured a lock factory on my day off just because I could. I got invited and I would just say, yes, I'll go do that. And then in August, there were a number of sober discos as part of the Birmingham Festival alongside the Commonwealth Games. And I was like, brilliant, a sober disco, a silent sober disco for queer people, I'll go. That sounds like fun, that sounds like my kind of place. If it's all too much, I can just take off the headphones and I can have a conversation without having to shout over drunk people. That sounds wonderful. And through that, I heard about a project being run as part of the Pride Parade, where ordinary queer people from across the community who wouldn't normally be celebrated or focused on at Pride would be able to lead the parade. And I knew that if I thought about it too much, I would go, that sounds lovely, not for me. And so when I saw a tweet saying fill in the form here, I worked very quickly so that my brain didn't have time to go, no, don't do that. Don't put yourself forward. So I just typed it out. You had to write a little bit of kind of justification. And in my day life, at work, I'm a civil servant, and that's all very smart and confined, and it's very clear on what you do and don't do and how you should behave. Don't put yourself forward, don't be too loud, don't. And so putting myself forward for this project was a way of going, okay, I'm going to be very, very visible, part of a group of dancers. I am not shaped for dance. I described myself at the first rehearsal as feeling a bit like a dancing sweet potato. And I am being visible for all other dancing sweet potatoes in the queer community. So I am taking up space, I'm being very visible. I can't show you what I'm doing because it's a big secret. The choreography is wonderful. It's a little bit like the gay Macarena. It's amazing. And
Not gay enough.
that's right, the Macarena wasn't gay enough to start with. It needed more. And we've all got these wonderful costumes that have been tailored for us. The costumiers went through my Instagram feed, it went through my Twitter feed, and they've come up with a really, really lovely costume that I feel comfortable dancing in, which is a sentence I'd never thought I'd say. That's not something. So next week, at the front of the Pride Parade, behind the HSBC float, well, I mean, kind of everything. But someone needs to pay for the sponsorship, so HSBC will be first, and then there will be 70 beautiful, vivid, loud, queer people of all shapes, sizes, age, who will be dancing for your entertainment and also encouraging you to join in the gay Macarena that we've come up with. And it's really exciting and very moving. After our most recent rehearsal this week, a lot of us were in tears because we were part of something bigger than us, and we felt included and we felt accepted, and it's good. It's really good. And our joy is something that we can't wait to share with you. We're all really excited to be part of the parade, leading it, being visible, being present. So I hope if you can make it next week, come to the parade, come and see some dancing sweet potato.
Thanks so much, Beth. Aw. No, I'm just hoping that we get to see a bit of it, those of us who are marching with Christians at Pride, because I know at least it'll be filmed, I hope. So, I'm going to invite you all to join in what is the central act of Christian hospitality, which is communion together. And how amazing and special to share it together in this space. I'm quite overwhelmed by this actually today, to be here. And I was thinking about some of my own pride stories in the spirit of this. And one of my most profound pride and spiritual moments, which you might have heard me talk about, was out here in front of the Fox during Birmingham Pride, maybe I think it was when it was still free, so it was over 11 years ago. And I was singing with my band, who were all lesbian women, and I'm the only one who wasn't. And as I was looking out over the crowd, we were singing these innocuous kind of words that were like, love is all over the place, there's nothing wrong with your face. And as I sang those words, this sense of, a massive sense of God's love for the people I was looking at poured down onto me in a way that I've never shaken since. It's still there. And that moment feels a bit like it's part of this moment, to be here. And my experience of being someone who aims to be an ally, straight, cisgender, has always been profound welcome into LGBT spaces. I've always experienced that hospitality. And we're experiencing that now, to be offered this beautiful space and room, and just people are wanting us to be here with them. How amazing is that? And for us as followers of Jesus, those of us who are, this is another act of our hospitality outward again, is to invite people to the table of God together. And for us, that doesn't mean you have to believe a particular thing or claim a thing, or you are welcome to our table. So that's a really important part of our theology here at Inclusive Gathering, is this open table. We're not, for lots of people, they've experienced exclusion in all sorts of ways, and sometimes that has been around communion in churches for all sorts of reasons. That barrier is not here. It's, you don't have to join in, but you're very, very welcome, and that's all up to you. So in a few moments, we're gonna share together. I'm gonna read a little liturgy, but first we're gonna sit with this song and listen to the words. And as we do that, Eunice and John are gonna come forward and they're gonna distribute the wine and the bread. Now, I don't know if you were in Edgbaston with us a couple of weeks ago. You remember that we had some very civilized brown communion trays that had been donated to us that kind of looked a bit like Edgbaston. Well, this week they still have the kind of prayers and blessings we wrote underneath them. Someone actually wrote on the top, "Queer AF." That is actually the page over now, but they've now been now blinged. So they're purple and they've got glitter all over them, but they're still the same. So I want to invite John and Eunice to come forward and begin to distribute that, and we can listen to this song together and hear these words as you need to hear them. And I'll be back with you in a moment.
Yeah, we're just holding these like.
Oh yes, hold them. They're gluten-free, alcohol-free, and just hold them really together.
One this way.
My mama told me when I was young, we are all born superstars. She rolled my hair and put my lipstick on in the glass of her boudoir. There's nothing wrong with loving who you are, she said, 'cause he made you perfect, babe. Except I don't know what gender God is, and that's fine. So hold your head up, girl, and you'll go far. Listen to me when I say I'm beautiful in my way. God makes no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born
self-prudence. Love your friends, so we can rejoice your truth. In the religion of the insecure, now sing it with me right now. I must be myself, respect my youth. A different lover, it is not a sin, believe it. Capital H-I-M, hey, yeah. I love my life, I love this record, and me, I want it, yeah. Love beats, babe. I'm beautiful in my way, God makes no mistakes. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Don't hide yourself in regret. Just love yourself and you're set. I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Oh, there ain't no other way, baby. I was born this way, baby. I was born this way, born this way. There ain't no other way, baby. I was born, and I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way, yeah. After 10 years, wrote this album 10 years ago. This record went #1 again this week. Yeah, you can clap. It's okay, because it's okay to clap for something that's good. It's not the record that went #1 again. It's the people that went #1 again in that way. No matter gay, straight or bi, lesbian, transgender life, I'm on the right track, baby. I was born to survive. No matter black, white, or beige, chola or Orient maid, I'm on the right track, baby. I was born to be brave. All the rain and all the way, baby. I was born this way. Oh, there ain't no other way, baby. I was born, and I'm on the right track, baby. I was born this way. Same DNA, but born this way. Same DNA, but we keep growing, right? Keep changing. Perspectives keeps morphing, but born this way. That's your magic.
Sorry for the drop there. I just thought that was a beautiful version of that song. Yeah. So if we're holding our elements together, I'm going to read this with you. I'm going to read it from the screen and click along. Where the words are in bold and italics, you can read with me, and then I'll read the other bits to you. God calls us. Community of saints, beloveds of God. We are invited to come and gather at the table of love and liberation, to feast on the dreams of God, to be nourished by but a taste of what God desires to do among us. God calls us from institutional halls of power, from shelters and the streets. God calls us from classrooms and pulpits, gay bars and prison cells. God calls us as we are, from wherever we are, to come and be in solidarity with Christ, who lives and loves on the margins.
God whispers, come and live abundantly. Turning from all that claims blessings flow from money, power, or control. Come and love relentlessly. Following Christ on paths of uncertainty, taking risks for one another, calling down unjust power from his throne, and lifting up the lowly, the impoverished, the burdened. To answer the call of Christ is to find ourselves, no matter our social location, choosing to align ourselves with the causes we might enflesh new possibilities of healing, of connection, of freedom from all that destroys. When these are the desires of our hearts, we open ourselves to God. Blessed are those, Jesus said, who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. And so let us come to the table, expectant, eager, open to tasting the rich blessings of heaven, born from unexpected places and people and experiences. In this meal, we remember the life, death, and resurrection of the one who still takes on flesh among us today. On the night he would be arrested, Jesus gathered his friends and companions. In the midst of a tense and dangerous time, they found each other at table, connecting over the story of God enfleshed among them. As they did so, Jesus took bread, gave thanks to God, broke the bread, and shared it with his disciples, saying, "Take, eat. This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." Take the bread and eat together. When supper was over, he also took the cup, gave thanks to God, and shared it with his disciples, saying, "Drink from this, all of you. This is the cup of the new covenant. Do this as often as you drink it in remembrance of me." Drink together in this place. And so we pray. Come, Holy Spirit, breath of God, renewer of life. Settle on these gifts and all who gather here, that we might be transformed in our remembrance of your radical love, your eternal embrace, and your grace that makes all things new. For the sake of our shared lives, the life of this land on which we live, and the lives of those yet to come, nourish us and renew our hope that soon Christ may rise again among us. Amen. We're going to sing a song together. As we said, lots of other weeks we'll have musicians here to play with us, but it's kind of lovely to just all of us to be able to sing some music here today. So the song that was coming next is one that's been really important to IGB as we've grown, and so I invite you to sing along with us.
I keep fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know. Ooh, oh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I'm weak. And you say I am held when I am falling short. And when I don't belong, oh, you say I am yours. You'll have every failure, God. You'll have every victory. Oh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I am strong when I think I am weak. You say I am held when I am falling short, when I don't belong. Oh, you say I'm yours, and I believe, what you say of me. I believe, yes, I believe what you say of me. I believe.
Let's just sit with that for a moment. I was saying to someone this week that I find it really easy to believe the things that are negative about me, the failures, where I hurt people and let people down, things I'm not doing right, when I'm falling short, and I find it really much harder to sit into the belief that I'm loved and that's it. So often when we talk about God and we talk about the gospel with people, we talk about the ways that people have to deal with their sin and their imperfections. Well, I have to say, the many conversations that I have with people, they don't need to be convinced that they're not perfect. They need to be convinced that they're loved, and that they're beautiful, and that God looks at them and that God smiles. So I want you to sit with that knowledge and take that with you today. I'm going to just share what's coming up over the next couple of weeks, and then we're going to finish with one more song and a blessing from Gary. It's just, I'm still bowled over that we're in this room, in this place, and the generosity that we're experiencing. This afternoon, we're continuing with our neurodiverse spirituality workshops at 5:15, which are online if anybody's interested in that. This week, we're doing a carers and parents Zoom discussion about what we want for our kids to thrive in this community, in this space, how we can make this new space work. So if you've got children under 18 and you'd like to join in with that, you're very, very welcome. There's information on our website. Next week, on Saturday, we're marching with Christians at Pride. Lots of us have talked about it. There's still plenty of space for you to come along with us. At 10:30 in the morning, we're going to be meeting to pray at the church at Cars Lane. And then at 11:30, we're going to be meeting up at Starbucks at Colmore Row. So you can join us at any of those points. But it's a really powerful experience, as you've heard many people share today. And yes. We have a little registration link on our site that's really handy if you clicked it and told us you were coming. But don't let not doing that stop you from coming, because we find that some people come that don't register and some people register that don't come. So, but it'd be good to know if you can register, that'd be great. And then Pride Sunday is the one Sunday that we actually cannot be in this space because this is actually a paid area. So we're joining in on Pride Sunday morning with the church at Cars Lane at 10:30 for a Pride service. I'll be there sharing something, and a number of other folks from the community will be there. You're really welcome to join us, but there won't be any official meeting here next week. But going on from there, this is where we are every week, either in this room or downstairs. And then, really excitingly, we're aiming toward having a larger gathering on the first Sunday of every month. And the next one, we're having an international touring band of musicians come and do some music around the Beatitudes, which are like the blessings of Jesus, the blessings in the Sermon on the Mount. It's really, really interesting, and it's going to be really fun. It's going to be in this room. So they're excited about bringing the wisdom of Jesus into this space. So we hope you can join us for that. And then after that, we're back here at the Loft. So I figured since this is a week of pride, of protest and celebration, we do one of these kind of a cappella marching songs. So you're going to have to bear with me as I sing this with you. It's very simple. You might have heard it at Greenbelt a couple of years ago. And there's a few bit that you'll get the melody after the first time. And there's one little bridge section where there's an echo. So you just have to pay attention. I'm going to point at you when you echo. You got it? What I could do is people clapping, because one thing I can't do is clap and sing at the same time. So you can clap like this, right? And I hope that's not too fast. A little slower. Okay. Ready?
Well, it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm gonna walk it with you. And I know you might have a heavy load, but I can carry some too. I will lift you up when they push you down. I will raise my voice and stand my ground. Well, it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm gonna walk it with you. And it looks like it might be a long night, but I ain't going nowhere. And I know it's gonna be a hard fight, but I will stand right here. I will shine a light in the darkest hour. I will face the man in the tallest tower. Well, it looks like it might be a long night, but I ain't going nowhere. I will strive in the name of love. I will speak. I will speak. I will shout. I will shout. I will sing to the skies above. Well, it looks like it might be a perilous time, but I will follow your lead. And I know it might be a long time till the last one of us is free. But I will hold on tight, stay by your side, and I will be with you through this whole damn night. Well, it looks like it might be a perilous time, but I will follow your lead. Well, it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm gonna walk it with you. And you know I might have a heavy load, but I can carry some too. I will lift you up when they push you down. I will raise my voice and stand my ground. Well, it looks like it might be a hard road, but I'm gonna walk it with you. I'm gonna walk it with you. I'm gonna walk it with you.
Very good, everybody.
Thank you for sharing with us, and we'll finish with the usual words we share together as we bless each other. So let's say together, may we live fully, love gracefully, and have the courage to be all that God has created us to be. Amen.